Simpler than trying to get TeamSpeak to work on a shitty server. This is At the Movies. I'm Clinton Bowman. Yes, not a typical voice you'd hear for At the Movies, but I am your moderator for today's show. You might as well call me the Molly Karam to the Max Kellerman and Stephen A. Smith that I have over here, or the Tony Reali that's going around the horn here. Yes, ESPN references. Get used to it. I am joined by the head managing editor of films and television, Sara. Sara Menendez. Sara, how are you today?
I am extra stellar.
In other words, tired. You got it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I am also joined by our Australian friend who happened to see Star Wars in the future, Karl May Smart. Hello from the past.
Greetings, I have been brought up by Disney.
Uh-huh. Already.
Australia is now property of the mouse.
Damn, I thought you were property of Rupert Murdoch. I guess not anymore.
Well, no, because Disney bought the Fox, so...
Yeah, Disney just didn't want to have anything to do with the Fox News.
All hail the mouse-eared overlords.
All hail.
Speaking of things the mouse bought, we are at the movies with Star Wars, The Last Jedi, a movie. While universally, certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes and universally acclaimed, we have some opinions about that movie, and there are some opinions on the interwebs about that movie that may not agree with how the critics feel. So, to introduce you to the plot...
Let's before we jump in the plot, let's just call everything for what it is.
Call a spade a spade.
This movie is straight up controversial because, according to places like Rotten Tomatoes, Metacritic, etc., critics love this. At time of recording, it is sitting at 92% certified fresh.
Oof.
But it has an audience score of 54%.
Well,
with the average rating being a 3.2 out of 5.
Right.
So this is sort of like the same thing that's happened to things like Suicide Squad, Batman vs Superman. There's plenty of films that have come out this year where critics loved it, fans hated it, or the reverse has happened.
Well, I'll give it to you straight up. No, I'll give it to you straight up. I mean, Batman vs Superman was objectively a terrible movie. I mean, let's just call it for what it is.
Critics liked it.
You know what I mean? Like the thing about Star Wars, and I almost want to get Sarah's opinion about this as well. As soon as I finish, the thing about Star Wars, the Last Jedi, is that yes, it is a very polarizing movie. This is one of the few polarizing Star Wars movies that I know of existence, because I know when the first 3 chapters came out, back when I was in junior high school and high school. People like literally, crack jokes were being cracked about that shit, like left and right, about those 3 episodes. But, people did enjoy them for what they were, except for like, I think it was 1 or was it 3? I don't remember. Was the one that people really hated. Karl, which was it? What was it? What was the one that people really hated in the original 3? The first, not the original 3, but the 3 that came out in the 2000s.
In other words, the prequel trilogy. The most universally panned is Attack of the Clones, or Phantom Menace, depending on who you talk to.
Yeah, I feel like Attack of the Clones got the worst rap.
Yeah, it did. So. Mainly because it was supposed to be about the Clone Wars, and we never got to see any clones nor wars. That was left to be put on television.
Oh, so episode 2. So yeah, pretty much episode 2.
Yeah.
Was the one that everybody hated. Oh man, everybody was like, they hated it. But don't get me wrong, it did make a good $649 million. So, it was pretty damn successful.
Star Wars.
I mean,
if it didn't make money, that's when you should be really afraid.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong about that.
The thing is with these films, you can't judge it by a box office, because the name Star Wars carries a lot of weight to it. It carries a big fandom to it. It is going to draw money whether you like it or not. This is to put it in wrestling terms, dude, and I hate having to do this. This is like WrestleMania.
Yeah,
it draws on the name alone. Instead of the content.
I don't think you should really hate it because it's actually a really good allegory. I mean, it's the Super Bowl. pretty much of movies.
Yeah,
Basically.
essentially. But with that being said, like I'm going to jump straight into the plot because
Allow me to introduce. Allow me to kick it over to you for the plot, Carl. I was going to kick it to Sarah, but I don't think Sarah's ready.
No,
I think Sarah's ready for this.
I think Karl should handle the plot.
Sarah does this to me all the time.
He's like chomping at the bit for it. I'm gonna let him have it.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, we start with well, you can't use that. The mouse will sue. Starts with very familiar scenes and everything. The text scrolls, blah blah blah. We are basically joining an undisclosed. I think actually no, it was Brain. This is where the brain really starts screwing up with the exact times and dates. I think it's something like 7 to 8 months, or might even be a year after the events of The Force Awakens.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
Timelines are weird.
Yeah, because as everybody remembers, there was this big, at the end of the Force Awakens, the big death planet thing went kaboom.
Death Star went.
No, it was Starkiller Base. That's what it's called.
Starkiller Base went kaboom. The rebels had a great start to everything, and hey, we're gonna actually be able to do something. All of a sudden, it's like that never happened.
Yeah, that disconnect is really weird.
Yeah,
Just
it's like okay, we're just erasing the big victory that the Resistance had, because now we're down to the last remnants of the rebellion led by Leia Organa. Unfortunately, not Solo. Screw you, fucking erasure of extended universe. And they're evacuating their base when the First Order arrives, and of course, this is where we get the reintroduction to Poe Dameron and good old BB-8.
Nice.
Essentially, big battle. Poe does ultra heroic stuff that should have got him killed about 18 times over. Like seriously, the dude basically does a trench run on his own on the top of a what they call it, the Dreadnought.
The Dreadnought, yeah.
The Dreadnought, a big killer class ship, a
Right.
world killer class ship, and he basically flies along the top of it, just going, yeah, see all your laser turrets, bang, 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 I got them all, ha 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 ha. It's like he should have died 18 times in that opening scene alone.
Yeah. Nothing kills Poe Dameron. Nothing.
No. So they use that, buy a bit of time. They fly off in the hyperspace, only to find that the First Order can track them. Yay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, it is a big deal because the whole point of jumping into hyperspace or into is it hyperspace or light speed?
They call it both. That's the
Oh,
stupid thing. They call it light speed, but in some parts, but they also call it hyperspace in others.
Yeah.
Can I mention something? The fact that you both are having so much trouble remembering, outside of Carl's slight,
A lot
brain
happened.
a lot happened, but
Okay. What I've just said happens in like the first probably about 15 minutes of the film.
holy shit! The fuck?
So to say this thing is packed full is an understatement.
Yeah, it's overflowing, really.
Yeah, I was gonna make a joke about it, but still.
I'm trying to sort of, I've got a recap in front of me that I used with my review over on the Outerhaven.net, and I'm trying to compress it down, but it's hard to compress all this down.
Yeah, because everything has its own purpose and things are important. Like the whole jumping to light speed was. Well, go ahead.
We have about 3 or 4 plots running at once in this movie, and that's where it becomes one of the biggest problems of the film.
Yeah.
Right.
So basic. Okay, I'll just summarize. It's easy to just summarize each plot. Plot number 1. Resistance are basically getting their asses kicked. They try to escape the First Order. They can't because they're being tracked by light speed. Now they're going at maximum velocity and staying just outside of the cannon reach and everything while they run out of fuel. That's your big drama number 1.
Right.
Plot number 2 goes on from number 1. Due to the knowledge of being tracked through light speed, Finn he's going to go onto Snoke's ship and disable the tracking device. He runs into plot convenience character known as Rose, who just happens to know everything technical under the goddamn sun.
She is an engineer
because she's an engineer who basically lives in the basement.
Yeah, that's well, to be fair, I mean, yeah, it's essentially it's just a pilot.
Sarah is literally like trying to justify. She's trying to justify.
She wasn't even a pilot. She's an engineer who she's literally.
That's my problem with it. We'll get to that.
She's the Mr. Scott of the Star Wars universe. She lives in the engine room.
Yeah, she's Scott. That's who she is. But yeah, we'll get to Rose's flying ability at a later point.
God damn it, Jim!
Yeah.
Damn it, Jim.
So that leads the two of them off on their little adventure to go and first they have to find a way to get through the shielding of the First Order ship. So they have to go and find this code breaker in a casino, and they end up finding basically a thief and a liar, a scoundrel. You know, hi Han Jr.
Hi, trying to make us forget that you killed off the best character.
Exactly.
Bye.
So that was that's the second plot. The third is obviously where we left The Force Awakens, which was Rey finally tracks down Luke and hands him the lightsaber, and a whole heap of oh my godness happens there that I just cringe at having to.
We're gonna have to deal with that separately.
Yeah,
in other words, to quote Josh Piedra, what the fuck? Pretty much.
And then the fourth one is obviously Kylo Ren still being a man-child, and basically Edgelord Ben getting basically pulled through the emotional ringer by Snoke and Rey to some degree, and also going shirtless and having the widest pecs ever known to man.
Yeah, it was blinding. I was like, oh Jesus.
That was put in there for you women's.
It's a shameful.
Oh yeah,
it's a shameful.
Yeah, Adam Driver is my pinnacle of male beauty. That's
the sarcasm is so godlike here.
But yeah, so that's basically the basis of the plots that are going on here, and it all goes back to there's a lot deeper stuff to get into with each little plot. But that's sort of the basics of it. Yeah.
Well, then I think we should mention before we go forward, at the end, the rebellion makes it to this planet. They're cornered. Luke.
Salty Hoth.
Yeah, Salty Hoth.
It is Salty Hoth.
Salty Hoth. Exactly. And, basically Luke comes in and Rey comes back. Rose and Finn fail in their mission, but they make it to the planet,
but they fall in love.
Well,
sorta.
Yeah,
sorta.
She falls in love with him, which I'm like, girl.
Yeah, wait until we talk about Rose before we get to.
Oh my god, we're gonna have so many different opinions on Rose, but that's okay because basically Luke fights quote unquote Kylo, and then turns out he wasn't even there at all, and Rey helps the rebellion escape to fight another day, and and of course. Edgelord Ren is real mad about it.
Yeah. Yeah, cue the music that we all know comes. Da 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 da. Mouse is gonna sue. The mouse is gonna sue if you use this.
Yep. The mouse knows all.
The mouse knows all. Okay, but that's the basic plot. Do we want to do best and worst moments?
Okay, I think that's a good one. Can I start with my...
by all means.
Alright, so... Yeah, now, a lot of the questions that I had, obviously, going into this was definitely, if you want to do moments, I actually wanted to go into more like character development, but if you want to go do moments now, do moments, yes.
We'll do story first, because believe me, when we get to characters, oh my god, this is going to turn into a 16-hour podcast.
Yeah, we're gonna just be yelling for a while.
I'm used to that.
I mean, yeah, yeah. Karl and I have opinions. So basically, for me, the best moment of the film, the moment that literally took my breath away, is the scene where Vice Admiral Holdo, who's played by Laura Dern and looking fine as hell, decides that she's going to try and save the remaining resistance ships by, and I can't believe no one thought to do this before in the series, to light speed directly through the fleet, therefore just like crashing straight through them with hypersonic force. And it is just, and the scene, it just goes black, and you see the ships just crumble and fall apart. Oh my god, I thought it was like, oh, that just like took my breath away. I thought it was amazing, well done. Honestly, I could watch that forever.
I can totally agree, like, it was visually impressive. However, it does lead to sort of one of my annoyances with the film is, like, why the fuck didn't she do that as soon as they started firing on the smaller ships?
Yes, that is, yeah.
It's like, why wait until half the friggin' fleet is destroyed before you get the idea of, hey, I'm going to sacrifice myself to save them, which you were going to do anyway.
Yeah, basically. It's yeah. And somebody mentioned that, like, maybe, because we see it in there's such weird time dilation in this film, that maybe we're just watching the same moments back to back, so, like, the same ships just keep exploding. But I agree, like, the minute I saw one ship go down, I'd be like, welp, ultimate sacrifice time, turn this shit around, we're gonna light speed into a fleet.
Yeah, exactly. A light speed bullet. Like, it was a great idea, and it's something that a lot of people have wondered about for years.
Yep.
When it comes to that type of technology, because even like, any series, whether it be a movie or a TV show that uses such fast speed technology, they always seem to be able to plot a perfect course through the middle of nowhere to get wherever they want. There's always been the whole thing, like, and even Han Solo states in Episode 4 that before he has to do the jump to light speeds for the first time in the movie, the computer needs time to plot the calculations. You don't want to go through a planet or an asteroid or something like that. Yeah. It would get real messy. Now we actually get to see what happens when somebody actually goes, you know what, fuck it, hey, there's a ship, guess what, you're going to get, I'm going to go straight through you.
Mm-hmm.
Basically call me Braun Strowman suplexing as a Christmas tree.
I'm not finished with you!
Oh my god,
there we go.
Wrestling references.
Yeah, unfortunately. But for me, my best scene didn't really come so much, and it's probably one of the more annoying scenes in the film, but just the use of what was around was the return of Yoda.
Oh my god, Puppet Yoda.
Puppet Yoda returns. Oh my god, thank god for practical effects.
Yep.
I love my practical.
Okay.
Yeah, they brought back a Yoda puppet
as a Force Ghost. The Force Ghost Yoda puppet.
Yeah.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The reason why I was saying practical effects, I'm like, oh wait, no, you actually like practical effects. I wanted to double check that.
No, I am a huge proponent. I love practical effects in movies. The over-reliance on CGI, especially in the Star Wars film, got to a point of nauseatingly bad. The fact that they went back to a lot of practical effects for this movie, especially for the return of Yoda, I love it. And the thing was, it wasn't, oh, I'm a nice, peaceful, wise Yoda either. It's the wise, cracking guy from Return of the Jedi.
Yep. He's just like, I'm done with this shit, Luke. I'm done. I barely trained you. You don't even count as a Jedi Master, right? Boom! Force lightning.
like you're such a bitch. Like, stop.
No, it was literally he rocks up as Luke's having this big dramatic moment. It's like, oh, you're so silly you are. Missed you, I have. It's like,
and he
same old Luke, always looking at the horizon, never where you're at. And he hits him with the stick, and I'm like, yes.
Yep. I love that moment when like Luke's like, I'm gonna burn it down, and he's like holding, he's waiting, and then Yoda's just like, and just grabs him, and the lightning comes and sets the whole tree on fire.
And then Yoda cackles while he's this evil fucking mastermind while it burns.
I just love it. It's just like Yoda's like, you know what? I don't care anymore because I'm dead. Fuck you guys.
But the other thing is, I reckon, as most of the Force Ghosts end up doing, they know a lot more than they let on. Yeah. I reckon Yoda knew at that point that Rey stole the ancient text.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
the whole part to explain it further. The island that Luke's on is actually on the planet where the Jedi originate.
Right.
They have this tree on the island, sort of in the center of it, that houses the original 5 books of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Mm.
Like the
So,
Testament of the Wills or something? Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Testament of the Wills. There are actual names for the 5 books. I can't remember them offhand. But
Okay.
it's the original old school Jedi texts.
Mm-hmm.
And Rey manages to find them herself, and Luke goes, well, they're practically nonsense. They're not worth reading. His whole thing throughout this entire film was the Jedi are pointless, they're hypocrites, they're morons, they didn't know what the hell they were doing.
They literally destroyed themselves, like,
Yeah.
in a very literal sense.
Right.
And his whole thing is, they have to die in order for something fresh to come along.
Okay.
So in the vein of that, he goes to destroy the tree and the text with them, which is when Yoda shows up and does it for him.
Yeah.
But
Basically,
by that,
because Luke's gonna wimp out.
yeah, by that point, Rey has left the island, and she actually had stolen the books on her way out, as we find out if in like a blink if you miss it shot near the end of the film.
Yeah.
Wow.
They open a drawer and they're there. If you know, like, what the binding looks like, then you know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, like just a return of Yoda. I loved it. I thought that was absolutely hilarious.
That is a pretty great moment. I'm trying to think of, I think, and I hate to say it because I love Leia. My worst moment, and I know there's a reason why that this happens, but basically her ship gets attacked. She gets jettisoned into space, and instead of killing her, she wakes up from obviously her jettison trauma coma, because of course, and she's just like, oh, okay, and she like force flies her ass. She uses the force to navigate the void of space back into the ship, and everyone sees it and is like, oh my god, which, I mean, I guess means that she's done this before, because none of them were like, holy fucking shit, Leia can fly? And they run to the door and they pull her in, and then she's sort of out of commission for the rest of the movie. But that, I was just like, what? What the fuck? Like, I get it. Leia's force sensitive, just like her brother, and she's always been, more like the sensing feeling, but like, just out of nowhere, man, that flying, I was like, oh god, why would you? And the CGI around it looks so bad. It looked so weird. I was like, what are y'all, Lucasfilm, stop. Why? But yeah, that's my candidate for worst moment of the film.
And I can agree with that particular sentiment. And I can offer the explanation, and it goes back to the old school extended universe style stories, where Luke actually trained Leia in some meaning of the Force. She doesn't become a warrior; she becomes more of a healer.
Yeah.
We've obviously seen that she does have connection to the Force, and she does use it in The Force Awakens, and she uses it for quite a lot in The Last Jedi, but more of a sensing how people are doing, if they're alive, if they're still around type thing.
Yeah.
So it's not highly unusual that she actually knows some of the more peaceful techniques. Among them is the one breath control, which allows a Jedi to sort of put themselves into a suspended animation state at a time of extreme stress or something, and allow them to slow down their breathing and everything else to allow them to live outside of an oxygen-free environment for, I think it's only about like 60 seconds or something.
Yeah.
But, there
Just
is
enough.
an explanation to it, but the fact that it does come out of the way, out of nowhere for a lot of people, just makes them all jump back and go, whoa, this is so like screwed up, etc. But
Yeah,
you have to remember, and this is what I try to tell everybody, but nobody seems to listen, is that there is at least a 20-plus year gap between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. There is a lot of story missing. Yeah. And for all we know, Luke could have trained Leia early on before he took her on Kylo and all that later. So there is an explanation to it, but it's people just sort of can't really get over their whole of, oh my god, it happened so suddenly and we have no reference for this. Well, yeah, you do.
We have no reference for like anything though. In the proper like so much information is missing. Like you can read the books. Oh my god,
yes.
Yeah, but yeah, for me it's just a combination of like what the fuck, like right out of nowhere, and then just the way it looks is just really bad.
Yeah. But to add on like a scene that I absolutely hated, and it's really pain in the butt because it's a really well done scene, is the death of Supreme Leader Snoke.
Really? Wow, that surprises me.
Like, this is the thing, like, it's a well done scene. It's like, Snoke's on his evil rant about, how I know everything, I can see everything, I can see the future, and I can see Kylo's intentions as clear as day as he's about to strike down Rey, and he turns this and he turns his lightsaber to the side, and as you see Kylo doing the actions in front of Rey, you see him sort of slyly behind his back almost, using the Force to turn Luke's lightsaber, which is sitting next to Snoke, at Snoke. So he's doing the same actions, so the intention is the same.
Yeah. And
he kills Snoke and just pulls the lightsaber through him, and Snoke dies.
Yep.
The main reason why I hated that scene is because it was one of these things that you could tell from the outset. Rian Johnson, who wrote the film and directed it as well, didn't like a lot of things that were left unanswered from The Force Awakens. Snoke being one of them. And this was just one of those, hey, I'm not going to we're not going to get the backstory of Snoke. We're not going to learn anything more about him. I'm killing him. He's dead. That's it.
Yeah.
Also, the big revelation in this, which was about Rey's parents.
Which really wasn't a revelation so much as like a womp womp.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like we find out instead of Rey's parents having some sort of connection to the Force, they were just literally drunken junk traders who sold her off for booze money.
Which, I think I want to put a pin in that because I do want to talk about that a little bit more. Because to me, I think that's a really important topic when we talk about Rey, but we'll deal with that when we get to characters.
Well, I can understand why it was done. As we saw near the end of the film, the kid using the Force to bring the broom to his hand. I think that the whole message at the end of this, leading into Episode 9, is anybody can become a Jedi.
Right, which is so different from the prequels, where it was like, oh, you have to have midi-chlorian count, and...
Oh, thank God we don't have any of that shit.
Jesus Christ, it was just like, God, no.
Well, forget y'all. I gotta deal with that in Dragon Ball Z Super.
Yeah. No tingly back bullshit.
No. And the thing is, like, I think, and I know a lot of people call Rey a Mary Sue, which I have issues with for several reasons, but... the thing that I like is that, like, they could have made her a Kenobi, or a clone of Palpatine, or a Windu, or whatever other, like, fucking bullshit, right? Or, like, made her the daughter of one of the characters in the extended universe. But they didn't. They're like, you know what? No, she is not special by birth. She is not, like, some sort of prodigy because her parents had magical genes. Bullshit. It's just like anyone can be a Jedi, and the Force doesn't play favorites.
All right, so let's take that and go with it. Now, obviously, we were going to talk about characters, but Rey is obviously one of the biggest points of the contentions in this movie and in recent Star Wars, especially with opinions. I want to go to Karl about the whole idea of Rey as a Mary Sue character. Now, to define a Mary Sue character. The Mary Sue trope is typically an original character in fanfiction, usually, but not always female, for one reason, is deemed undesirable by fan critics, or a character who is typically, OP overpowered in a lot of ways. Idealized and seemingly perfect fictional character. So I want to start with Karl. Do you feel that Rey as a character... And you can also talk about her character development as well in this. would be considered a Mary Sue character and why?
As I put forward in both reviews, I believe I did the review for Force Awakens and I did the review for The Last Jedi as well.
Mm-hmm.
I by all means I call Rey a Mary Sue, up, down, back, forth, front, back, everything else, because of the fact that, and you know, this movie did everything it did to reaffirm that, in my opinion. The fact that she comes from no one of any particular, you know, background or stock. The fact that she is so powerful, she's even more powerful than Kylo Ren. She's more powerful than Snoke even. And her prolificency to be able to do things like become a mastery at lightsaber combat by swinging it at a goddamn rock. You know, she does, being able to jump into the dark side and have it unaffect her. She has no flaws, which is my biggest problem and why I will always call her a Mary Sue. She has no flaws. She is the perfect character. She is the perfect embodiment of the light side who can do whatever and anything that the script requires, pretty much. And when you take a look back at other characters in the universe, even the powerful ones like Yoda, Obi-Wan Kenobi, all of them, they had flaws. They were not perfect human beings. Or not human beings or whatever they want to call themselves, because for all we know, they're not actually human beings. They're blah, blah, blah. It's like 562 genders. But you know, it's yeah, pretty much. Carl confused, brain hurt. Yeah, for me, this movie did nothing but reaffirm Rey as the character who can do whatever the script requires, and she doesn't have to do it in any believable way. It's just because it happened. It's because the Force deems it so now. That's the excuse. It's the Force now deems it so. Well, okay, the Force may deem a lot of stuff, but at the same time, she is also a character. No character is that goddamn perfect.
All right, so you stop right there for a minute. I'll put the pin there for you, and we can come back to that. You can counterpoint Sarah's point. Sarah,
yes.
Same question.
Okay. Yes. So here's the thing. I think I don't think that Rey lacks flaws. I will give it to you that she's a little handier with a lightsaber than you would expect, but you also see that, you know, given where she's from and what she was doing, and the fact that she's very proficient with her staff, you know, combat, especially with a weapon, especially with a long, slim weapon that you hold with both hands, is not really out of her range. She also wields that thing like a fucking madwoman. Her form is terrible. It's just as somebody who did a lot of like swordplay work. She's just like whipping that thing around like, you're gonna.
Well, you're also putting into the aspect that, you know, in a movie we should hold them to
a higher, more pretty standard.
Right. You know, like it's a movie compared to real life. Now, if I was holding sword and I was looking like a madman, then yeah, you have all right to sit down and say, Clinton, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You're gonna kill somebody.
Go ahead. Let's
Yes.
Sarah finish your uninterrupted, please.
I apologize.
So, and you know, the thing is though, Luke still beans the shit out of her. Like, Luke is still a much better fighter and swordsman than she is, and I don't think that she's stronger than Snoke, because Snoke fucking wipes the floor with her. You know, she like tries to take the lightsaber, he's like, nope, and he beans her in the back of the head with it before taking it back. I don't think she's
I forgot about that. That was funny as.
Yeah. It's just like, god damn it, this one's supposed to be funny. But you know, like, he is stronger than her, and she is naive as fuck. Like, she like knows, and she's needy. That's the thing that I think really sets her apart. She's angry and she's needy. She's angry because, you know, Luke doesn't live up to her expectations, Ben doesn't live up to her expectations, you know, she keeps losing people, and she's needy. Like, literally, she knows. She's terrified of the dark side. She knows it's bad. right? This isn't like a, oh, but maybe the dark side is... No, like, we know the dark side is bad. But she's such a needy, crazy person who needs to, like, know who her parents are to give her some sort of, idea of who she's supposed to be, that she's literally like, yeah, I just potentially threatened, to go to the dark side just because I needed to know this answer to this question that really isn't that important considering. In the first film, she almost doesn't even go on the fucking adventure with Finn because she wants to wait for these parents who she doesn't know if they're ever going to come back or not. She's so desperate for affection that it really, like, and that's why I think she believes in Ben, because she wants him to be an ally. She wants to have that connection with someone. And she so naively walks into what is clearly a trap. Like, it's not even veiled. Like, this is totally a trap. And she's like, no, I'm gonna go save him. Like, you moron. Like, what are you doing? Stop. She might have the best of intentions, but she's pretty naive, and she's pretty quick to have things do it her way, and things have to be like this, and if you're Luke Skywalker, like, you need to do this, and Luke's not interested. So for me, I don't think she doesn't have any flaws. Mind you, the script does make her very powerful, and kind of has her do whatever she needs to do. Like, how does a girl who grew up on a desert planet like Jakku know how to swim? That's a question that I have.
How does she even know what water is?
How do you know what a body of water is? I mean, I'm sure she knows what water is because she has to drink, right? But she's probably like, what the fuck? That's one thing I will say. But I think it's also a little bit the Superman effect. It's like when you have a character with powers who has to sort of be like the savior, you have to sort of give them like a big tool belt of shit that they can do. Otherwise, the movie is kind of boring. And that's
fair enough. Fair enough.
Okay.
I'll give you all of that. It's just that the way she ends up being portrayed in the film.
Oh yes.
Is you don't unless you really want to sit there and go through the psychological aspects of this,
which I do.
Obviously, you don't see those flaws. A lot of people don't see those flaws because they're not willing to go that deep. Yeah. People like the three of us will probably go that deep into a character's psychology and everything like that. But when you look at it on the screen, all you're seeing is Rey, the all-powerful, Rey, the one who is able to do anything and everything at any point.
Right, and may I interpret that as, again, someone who hasn't watched the film yet and is planning to, and it's someone who does enjoy dissecting the writing of a film, the writing or the direction of a film. Is it fair to say that Rian Johnson did a piss poor job at highlighting those flaws?
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
Hell yes.
I definitely get the neediness, the sort of like the stupid neediness for affection, but I think J.J. Abrams made her feel more human in Force Awakens than in The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She wasn't this model of perfection yet.
Yeah.
In The Force Awakens, whereas this, she's almost considered a new deity. Like the way even Luke talked about her and her potential and what she can do with the Force and how much power she has, it was like she was becoming a new god almost.
Yeah.
That's the way a lot of people, especially in reviews, have been seeing her as like this. And I'm going to excuse myself, Sarah, because I'm going to use something you're going to hate. She is the embodiment of perfect feminism. She is the all-powerful girl who can do anything. There is no glass ceiling for her. There's no anything holding her back except herself, and
and her stupid bullshit.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the fact that she does have the neediness and everything like that, she is literally the embodiment of perfect feminism. At least stupidity third wave version. But and that's the way she's come off in a lot of reviewers' eyes, and a lot of that comes down to the current social climate.
And that is an issue. That is definitely an issue. I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I think also I think the movie just really wants to be able to sell you on Rey as the successor. You know what I mean? Like, they really
Yes.
just... And they're just doing it wrong. They're basically just like, nobody liked early Luke because he was so whiny. It's like, but that made him a character. We like the whiny.
Well, the thing was, you know, you grew up with Luke through those 3 films.
Yeah.
You know, and it's again, you know, you go and look at the prequel trilogy, you got to see Anakin grow up, become powerful, and then you got to see his fall. With Luke, you got to see this little nobody kid, which is what they're doing with Rey, grow into this all-powerful character. But instead of having the growth being shown for Rey, they sort of skipped everything and went to the all-powerful.
Yeah, I think they're just trying. I think they want to get to a finish line, whatever that finish line may be.
Right. Yeah, and
they're just sacrificing. I think they're sacrificing a lot of characters' development for that.
They are, because I've got a feeling that they originally had planned more films out, and unfortunately Daisy Ridley, who plays Rey, turned around and said, "I'm doing 3 movies. Fuck you, I'm out."
Well, she said she's doing 3 movies, and then she needs a break. Because, to be fair, this is like a massive fucking endeavor.
So, you know what?
She doesn't want an Emma Watson deal where she's known for one character and one character only.
No, which see, I like Daisy Ridley's thinking. At the same time, that is a bit selfish because it kind of fucks the writing. And
I don't think John Boyega would want to do like a million more of these, like one right after the other either. I definitely know Isaac doesn't want to because he has a ton of projects.
Well, yeah, no, but that's understandable. What I'm saying is, like, if your character is destined to be the central figure in here, right? Mm-hmm. You're sitting here, you're basically fucking the writing by basically saying, oh, I only have like a movie left in me and I'm taking a break and you're going to have to wait. So now you have to write around that, and it's like...
A good writer can work with it.
That's the problem. Rian Johnson kind of sucks.
Not a good writer.
Yeah, he's not what I would. I think he works better when he's working on things that he wants to work on, and he doesn't have like Kathleen Kennedy being like, "You can't do it this way, Ryan. You can't do it this way." And also, I will say one argument that I've seen and that I think makes sense for why Rey is so powerful is because, and mind you, I don't 100% know how the Force works per se in the universe because I haven't read. I'm starting to get into the novels. Like I'm going to try and pick a couple up. But you know, the Force has to balance itself out. Hence now why we have the little kid with the broom. And so if it's trying to balance out, either balancing out Ben with a light side component that's not Luke, or because the Sith always have to come in twos, right? Knowing that Ben will eventually kill Snoke and then needs a fucking replacement. He needs his apprentice.
Well, if I can care to explain.
Yeah.
Yoda expresses in the early films that there is always 2, a master and an apprentice. This is where you had Snoke and Kylo. This is where you had essentially Luke and Rey. The problem here is like, yeah, okay, they say that this is the Force trying to balance itself, but the problem is, and this is one of those gigantic plot holes, was that even though they said that Luke had cut himself off from the Force, you still had Leia, who was still very much in connection with the Force. And then all of a sudden you had this kid at the end. So are they? But there's no real balance in that regard. So they sort of screwed up their own plot point there.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the idea is that like this is a kid who could go either way. You know, like he's being tormented and tortured, so maybe he'll go to the dark side.
Okay, the kid is the allegory for the film.
Yeah.
Anyone can be a Jedi is what they're leading to, and that's the story that they want to tell, and that's why the kid exists.
Yeah.
He just exists because, you know, we need to show that anybody is going to be a Jedi. That being said, oh my god, can we get off Rey, please?
Alright, so what character...
Someone else, anyone else.
So what character do you feel was developed the best in this? Was there a character that was developed the best? Was there a character other than Rey that was developed the worst?
Oh my god.
Oh, if we fucking worst, we could sit here all day because Luke got screwed, Kylo got screwed, Finn got screwed, Poe Dameron got screwed.
Rose got screwed.
Rose just is an absolute train wreck. General Hux became a joke.
General Hux, like, is just the worst. I mean, Holdo
Like,
is cool, but then
like,
it's just like, bye, bitch.
yeah, I'll put it this way: character development in this film was absolutely shocking at best.
Yeah.
Outside again, and to bring it back up, outside of Ray, everybody else pretty much got the shaft when it came to character development.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that is so unfortunate to say,
Yeah.
because there's a lot of really good actors who got screwed.
I know. Poe definitely had the clearest arc, right? Going from
Really?
like, yeah, hear me out.
Okay.
He goes from being like this hot shot fly boy, like fly directly into action, I don't listen to others or think about extended strategy, to sort of being forced by Holdo, to be like, cool your fucking jets, let's work this through. And even when everything falls to shit, the larger strategy is in place. And then you see at the end, when they're piloting those broken ass weird ships, he says, no, let's turn around, retreat. Finally, instead of going for like the 1 in a million shot or kill, he's like, no, we need to turn around right now. So
he's being built into the next leader.
Basically. Well, yeah, of course. I mean, who the fuck else is it going to be? We know no one else. It's certainly not going to be Billy Lord.
It could be Holdo. Did Holdo survive that final battle? I can't remember, because I know she was flying one of the junk speeder things, but I can't remember if she blew up or not.
No, Holdo died because she.
Did she?
Because she's the vice admiral. She's the one who.
No. I'm thinking of someone else.
Rose, maybe.
No.
The blonde girl.
Billy Lord.
Yeah. Billy Lord's still alive.
Lieutenant. Yeah, Lieutenant Connix.
Yeah, she's still here.
But we know the next one won't be Admiral Akbar. Talk about an injustice.
Alright, go right ahead. Go right ahead, because I know you wanted to talk about this for a hot minute.
Okay. Admiral Akbar, the biggest meme in the entire friggin' Star Wars universe. One of the most fan-favorite characters is literally killed off screen. He gets the to pull a 1980s reference, he gets the Duke G.I. Joe reference where it's like, oh, Admiral Akbar died in the explosion that happens on the bridge when which leads into the super carry Fisher spot.
Right.
But they literally say, did Admiral Akbar survive? And they go, no, he died in the explosion. It's like, really? It's Admiral effing Akbar. He's supposed to go out like a badass. How dare you just kill him off screen, you assholes?
Trying to be true to life here, guys. True to life.
Like
fantasy movie.
Okay, not to put down Laura Dern and her performance. She did quite well in a very limited role. But how much better would that sacrifice scene be with the light speed bullet? Be with Admiral Akbar in charge. Like, to have Admiral Akbar be the one to say, you know what, I'm gonna lead them into a trap, or something like that.
Oh my god. It would have, all the fans would have screamed.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's like, I would have felt so much more with Admiral Akbar being the one to sacrifice. Hell, I would have stood up and saluted the motherfucker. Rather than Laura Dern's character, who I barely even noticed. She literally pops in this movie. I can't remember if she was in The Force Awakens or not.
She's not in The Force Awakens. She is in the Princess Leia book that, covers Leia's career, in between the episode 6 and episode 7. I don't know. I think Laura Dern has such a commanding presence. I was just like, hello, Laura. How you doing, girl? Hey.
Well, I saw her and I'm like, hold on, did they find a way to clone Carrie Fisher? No, I'm serious. You see her and she's literally just a shorter hair version of a slightly younger Carrie Fisher.
Now I'm going to be slightly disappointed as Sara tells me she didn't yell, fuck you, insert name here several times.
Oh god, no.
No.
This is a mouse production, man. It's PG.
Yeah, no, she didn't get to say fuck you. I don't. I really like.
It's like me watching Doctor Who and seeing Peter Capaldi, and he's not going fuckity this, fuckity that, fuckity you, fuckity everything.
Yeah, just a disappointment.
It is.
Yeah,
but,
I definitely. Yeah.
But yeah, I to sort of jump backwards a bit into Poe Dameron, like you were talking about, his development and everything. I didn't really feel that development. I got a feeling, and
it wasn't done well, but that's what the arc is.
Yeah, well, I understand the arc, and I could see what the arc was. It was just the way it was done. I had it's just the way that every male character was written in this was just absolutely terrible. Like they were brought down to. Poe Dameron is this arrogant idiot who doesn't know anything, but at the same time, they don't want to tell him anything at all. Yeah. Kylo Ren was literally a gigantic man baby from start to finish.
Well, he's always gonna. I think that's the point of Kylo Ren, is to be a gigantic man baby.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize that now.
Yeah,
General Hux was just a complete idiot and a comedy relief character at this point.
Yeah.
Finn just got absolutely screwed over in being any type of actual A-cast character. He was practically background noise.
Mm-hmm.
And they seem to be this is the women's time to shine in a lot of the commanding roles, which is okay. I don't mind it so much, but it's just sort of. I like balance, in a movie that's supposed to be all about the balance. Well, there wasn't fucking much of it here.
Yeah, but I will say that, honestly, beyond Rey, no one really gets much development.
Oh,
period.
God. I 100% agree.
Yeah, and the thing that breaks my heart is going on forward to Rose. I think Rose is a great character, and here's why I think. I know you don't like her, but I'm going to explain to you why I think she's important
go
and why I think she got shafted. Rose, her whole thing is to be I grew up in the system. Finn is a clone who, sees things from a certain perspective. Poe has no attachment to his past as far as we know. And Rey lived on Jakku, where she's just shit sucks.
Mommy daddy issues.
Mommy daddy issues, and I scavenge for parts. But Rose grew up directly in this sort of system that supported the growth of the First Order. She saw a lot of abuse. She was... her family, she says, were used as weapons test dummies, essentially. She and her sister, who, by the way, is the bomber who dies at the beginning of the film, helping to destroy the Dreadnought, which I think they did not make clear enough, because a lot of people were like, so who is that lady in the first scene? Yeah, and I was just like, well, they shared a necklace, so her sister's dead, and they're like, I didn't get that, and I'm like, well, I don't blame you, they didn't do a good job. Didn't do a good job. But her whole point is to be this is a different view of the world. She's bringing, it's not just the First Order that's the problem. Her whole thing was to show that the whole thing on Canto Bright even is just to be it's not just that the First Order exists. It's that the First Order exists and is supported, and it destroys the people underneath. Star Wars has really been a lot about sort of the nobility, right? You get Luke Skywalker comes from this Jedi Force-sensitive family, and his mom was a senator, and then his sister is a princess. All of these, and the Jedi Knights, and the Order, and the Masters, and you don't really ever see, besides Anakin's mom, what the rest of the people are kind of going through. And so to me, Rose is sort of meant to fill that role. Now, does the character work? No, because they put her in this B-plot that never goes anywhere or does anything, and it's fucking awful, because, one, I think it's important to have a character like her that says, yes, the First Order is awful, but the First Order is not the only problem we have. The other problems we have are the following. And she also presents us with a perspective, that is one more of, I'm not special, and I'm never going to be special, but I'm still here to fight. And in the end, they kind of fucked over her character, which really breaks my heart, because I know a lot of people were really excited about her. They really were super, super excited to have an Asian woman, in Star Wars, and then they're just no, fuck you. You get 5 minutes. and you're going to be poorly written, and you're going to fall in love, by the way, with the first guy that you saw. Because of course you did. Because vaginas, right, guys?
I am staying the fuck out of this. Like, you know.
I was angry. I was still kind
But
of.
look,
Okay, Clinton, you said you're going to stay the fuck out of this. Stay the fuck out of this. I will take the charge.
Dun,
Because
dun.
I have no problem being Don Quixote and tilting at this particular windmill.
Wouldn't I be Don Quixote because in Spanish?
this is
That's
true.
a stereotype. How dare you stereotype yourself?
You'll be Donna Quixote.
There we go.
Or Juana Quixote.
It'd be Doña.
Doña. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
The way I, and again, this is, we seem to view these characters from different styles of viewpoints, which is fair enough, and it makes for an interesting conversation. For me, Rose was this weird mix of fangirl and political commentary. I'll address I'll start with the fangirl. The whole fangirl thing was literally from the moment she was introduced, like, oh my god, you're Finn. You're the hero of this, and you did that, and you did this, and that. And, like, from that straight moment, you can see that she wanted to practically jump his bones and, love me, I'm your biggest fan. and when she kisses him later, like right near the end of the film, I'm like, hold on, that's sexual assault. Oh wait, it's against a guy, so it doesn't matter.
Oh shit!
Oh god, that whole kissing scene. Oh god, I have so many. But it's okay. That's why it continues.
That's Finn's hashtag #MeToo moment.
Look, that's fair. I ain't here to say that that's not fair, but I don't know. And you're right. But you know what? I think it also plays into the theme. I know. I think it also plays into the theme, which is all your heroes are bullshit. Luke for Rey is bullshit. Luke also for Ben is bullshit. Leia for Poe is kind of bullshit, but not really. And
like, all your fan fiction except for the Kylo Ren and Rey one is now considered bullshit.
Yeah, basically. These and it's good. It's good to complicate figures of idol, but that was just weird. Yeah.
But the other point of Rose, like, okay, I sort of got used to the character. Yeah, she's fangirly and everything. That's fine, I actually enjoy the hyper fangirl style characters every now and again. They're good for a laugh, in certain situations and everything. So I was willing to forgive that particular way Rose was written. Then we got to the casino bit. And it was like, okay, now we're putting in some heavy drama, and she goes into a backstory and everything, and I'm like, oh my god, this is like one of those, anti-corporation, how dare people make money style rants and everything. And that sort of comes from my own personal viewpoints of, yes, there are going to be people who are going to profiteer from war. Yes, there are those that are going to suffer. Yes, there are going to be those that are going to be used as test subjects and stuff like that. But it's and it is a bad thing, and I wish it would end. But the thing is, until we can find an alternative, there's nothing that's really going to change. And trying to put that type of allegory, that type of story into a film, especially in the middle of something that's already, basically a story about fighting back against the ruling class, just seems really heavy-handed and unneeded. But I could understand that was the way they were trying to draw sympathy for the character, so you could feel some sort of connection to her.
Okay.
So I'm sort of on the bridge whether I can agree or disagree with it. It's just as you said, like every character in here got screwed over, and Rose really did get a lot of that bad writing.
I really go ahead.
She suffered because of it. Like, and the thing is, Kelly Marie Tran, who has done it, I've watched videos of her since the film has come out, and she She is such a passionate person for this character. She loved the fact that she played this character. She loves that this, there's the Asian representation. I watched a video of her the other day where she is just sitting in a coffee shop, and in the background you can hear a group of people talking about Star Wars and how much they love the Rose character, and you could see it on her face, the emotion, and she broke down crying about it in the end. And it's like, it's that type of thing that, I can't fault her as an actress for. But then I look at her character and see the fangirl, see the forced commentary, and I'm like, oh my god, girl, you got screwed out of something that should have been so much better.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And now that you've sort of brought up the point, I think another reason why the whole forced allegory doesn't work is because they're never going to do anything with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, oh, the rich support the First Order, and they support the rebels, and, capitalism is the true enemy. And then it's like, well, then what the fuck is the answer? What the fuck are you going to do with that?
I mean, a lot of people will say it's communism, but then again, yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't think definitely.
Let's not get too political here, but
right.
Yeah.
Can we talk about like the ultimate screen? Like we see that Rose got a lot of stuff, but can we talk about the one who really got fucked over badly? Captain Phasma.
Yeah.
Like this badass character that we were told was going to return in the Last Jedi and get like a really good story and everything is reduced to like probably about 5 seconds of screen time before she's killed off again. Yeah,
I think they're trying to do the Boba Fett effect, where it's like we have this really coolly designed character, serious, kind of only on for a couple of minutes, and then disappears, and then, it just doesn't work because they hyped her too much.
Yeah, pretty much.
You have to understand, I think the executives behind Star Wars fails to understand this is not the 1970s anymore. The internet exists. Things do, dude, memes barely last a month now. So you gotta really try to capitalize on what's popular and what people remember. People's memories are a lot different too. You know what I mean? So people are going to remember this, like, oh, Captain Phasma, man, the next movie, we're not really going to care because we didn't get what we wanted. So it's like, we're not going to expect anything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just made this character and they didn't know what to do with her. There's no idea.
Exactly. I'm just trying to think who else haven't we covered character-wise. DJ and Kylo we haven't touched on yet.
Wait, DJ?
DJ, he was the Codebreaker.
Yeah, Benicio del Toro. What the fuck was even... Okay. I'm gonna be civil.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna sit back. Yeah. I'm gonna relax. I'm gonna listen to this wholeheartedly because this is gonna be fun.
I'm gonna get a cookie.
Go get your cookies, boys, cause... What the fuck? Okay, first of all, I understand why, conceptually from a script perspective, DJ has to exist, because there has to be a reason why the First Order realizes that the plan is to get the smaller ships out to the planet, to destroy the ships, to have the cool scene with the Lightspeed Destroyer, all that stuff. However, this is, again, they're trying to Boba Fett affect it. We'll write this really cool character with this weird quirk of stuttering, who's a traitor and a scoundrel, to try and fill some of that Han Solo void. And it's just abysmally done, because, believe me, I care. You guys know, I care a lot. Usually too much in characters who don't get a lot of screen time. I'm over caring. But
this
I looked
is
at
true.
This guy, yeah, I looked at this guy, I was like, who gives a fuck? Why is he here? Why, he's not the codebreaker that they're originally looking for. But they settle for him anyway, and he betrays them because he's a jackass. But it's kind of implied that he kind of is, because he knows how to break into the First Order. It's very odd. And then he just betrays them and disappears. We don't know if he made it off the ship before everything falls to shit. We don't know if we're going to see him ever again. It's kind of just like, oh, okay, we're just going to throw this freaking frisbee up in here. Oh, who knows what's going to happen? It just goes back off screen and you never have to worry about it again. It's bad writing. And it's like the epitome of what Rian Johnson doesn't understand about Star Wars. It's not about how much shit you can put into a movie. It's about how good you can make this complicated, beautiful, interstellar space opera, which is already kind of ridiculous, but it works because of all the passion and the love. And this guy is just a fucking cop-out. It's just a cop-out character. It's like, no, there has to be a reason why this happens out of character.
But at the same time...
Okay.
Go ahead.
Essentially, the sum of what you're saying, he's a plot convenience character. He's this character that was put in there because, hey, we needed to have something happen that we couldn't work out how to get the main characters to do.
Yep.
And it was like, and we're still trying to play to the old Star Wars sort of like The Force Awakens did. We have to have a character that's going to replace every other one. As you said, this was the Han Solo replacement.
Mm-hmm.
However, with all that being said and done, I have a theory.
Ooh, I want to hear it.
I have a theory. I have a theory. DJ is not really DJ. He's the collector in disguise, and it was one of the Infinity Stones in the box.
Dun dun dun.
God damn it! What the hell is this? When we have Star Wars cross. Time out. We're gonna have Star Wars cross the Avengers. Let's do this shit, all right?
I mean, love them by this now. Do whatever you want.
And I hope there's people laughing at that because anybody who actually pays attention, Benicio del Toro is actually the collector in the Avengers films.
Yep.
I mean,
we haven't found it yet. That's where we found it.
Marvel superheroes.
The first order had the Soul Stone.
And put it this way, and again, I didn't watch the film. I really didn't watch the film, but I think this is kind of an indictment on Rian Johnson more than anything else. I mean, yes, has Rian Johnson ever wrote a Star Wars film? Hell no. Hell no.
You don't have to be good. I mean, like, look at J.J. Abrams.
But J.J. Abrams has written similar movies.
J.J. Abrams knows how to adapt a franchise.
And he knows how to adapt the franchise. Yes.
Abrams did Star Trek. He did the 3 Star Trek reboot movies. While they weren't great, they were at least somewhat accurate to the overall universe.
They were fucking coherent.
Whereas Rian Johnson walked in the door, said, I don't like this, and I'm going to do my best to fuck it all over.
And keep in mind, he's actually slated for 2 movies. This movie and the next...
Nope. He's not doing episode 9.
It's going to be Abrams.
Oh, he's not doing episode 9 anymore? They scrapped that shit?
Abrams is back for episode 9. I think Johnson's doing the Han Solo movie.
Nope, that is Ron Howard.
Oh, thank Christ.
Monday, Tuesday, happy days. Wednesday, Thursday.
I just know who's doing everybody. The thing is, here's what happened. I will give you... They offered Rian Johnson the Han Solo movie after they fired Phil Lord and the other guy. And he was like, no. And then they offered him Star Wars Episode 9 after Colin Trevorrow got fired by Kathleen Kennedy. And he also said no.
I thought he was going to do episode 9, though.
No, the rumor was that he was going to do it.
Oh, okay.
And he didn't want to. I think probably because he has no idea what he's doing, and he's like, I'm going to get out now before this gets crazy.
I mean, speaking of the Han Solo movie, which is slated to come out next year, Monday, Tuesday, happy days, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm sorry. I'm just saying, I'm kind of happy that Ron Howard is doing that one. Like, in a degree,
Okay, that's the Han Solo movie. That'll be a different podcast.
Oh, I can't wait for that one. That's going to be fucking spaghetti western as fuck.
Can we talk about Mark Hamill? Please.
We can talk about Mark Hamill. I'm going to let you start with the Mark Hamill talk.
We talk, talking about allegories. Let's talk about the allegory that was used by Rian Johnson to say "fuck everything you know about Star Wars."
Wow, really? Let's go. I want to hear this.
That really good and powerful scene that we had at the end of A Force Awakens, where Rey finds Luke and hands over the lightsaber. The scene that precedes, that follows after that, is him looking at lightsaber for 2 seconds and throws it over his shoulder. That is an allegory for everything wrong with this film. It was literally taking everything that you know and you love and thrown over the edge of a cliff to be eaten by porgs. And, Luke Skywalker, like, I understand his whole thing was, he's regretful of the stuff he did with Ben and, training him and not seeing the dark side and everything. And it led to him shutting himself off from the Force and being resentful of being a Jedi and being a legend, and the weight of the story of Luke Skywalker weighed heavily on his shoulders. It was such a cop-out to watch this happen, because we got screwed over on so many things. We were waiting for the redemption of Luke Skywalker because he never actually redeems himself of the whole thing with Ben. He never gets to. He doesn't even want to try and redeem himself. He's so down in his own depression that he just wants to die.
Yep.
And it's sad to watch a character that we've seen have so much hope, so much passion, so much energy be reduced to this cranky old man sitting on his front lawn, sitting on his deck going, "Get off my lawn, you kids."
Basically.
Because that's essentially what he was in this film, and it was so painfully badly done that it hurts the overall reputation of the character.
I'm gonna put out this. I know how much it hurts you. I don't want you to go too much further than that, because I mean, again, 16-hour podcast. But
fine.
Go ahead then. I was trying to like, because you consider it for the people that gotta go to bed. But in the same sense, I wanted to ask the question to kind of start towards the wrap it up kind of deal.
Well, we've still got to cover Kylo, but sure.
Yeah, no. Okay, so
let's hit up Kylo.
Let's hit up Kylo first. Yes, I swear you did, but.
Nope, not. We just called him an edgelord man baby.
All right, go ahead. Let Sara kick this one.
Yeah, all right, Sara, you got this one.
Okay, but I'm gonna veer back. I want to talk about Luke's death. I tricked you. Luke's death is so weird. What the fuck?
Oh, cop out central.
I was like, wait. So he forced too hard, and now he sees double.
Wait, time out. No, stop.
Essentially what happened.
Explain it. No, say that shit again. Clearly.
Okay.
What the fuck?
Okay. Let me explain the scene, and then I'll let Sara take over for the reaction. When they're on Salty Hoth, Luke suddenly reappears, and he, this moment of hope for the rebellion, and he gets a great moment with Leia. Before that happened, by the way, to go all the way back to good moments that can't believe I forgot about this. R2-D2 playing the original Obi-Wan Kenobi, You're My Only Hope. Oh my god, Cheer Jerker Central, and how dare they pull at my heartstrings like that. Arseholes. But yeah, Luke shows up on Salty Hoth. He has this moment with Leia. They actually have a good brother-sister banter for a little bit, which is actually quite nice to see.
Mm-hmm.
So it was almost like a really nice goodbye piece for Carrie.
Yeah.
So, and then he's like, okay, well, I've got to go out and face my destiny type deal. And he walks out in front of all these AT-ATs and Kylo's little flagship thing. Kylo, of course, being the emo man baby that he is, just goes fire, and all of them shoot at Luke.
Yep.
You see all these clouds of salt and dust go up all over the place. Luke is unharmed. Just walks through it like a badass. Takes off his white Jedi robe, and he's got the Return of the Jedi garb on, the black, the black gear that he had on in Return of the Jedi when he was training, and he's got his old school lightsaber too with him, which is where we should have known something was up.
Yeah, we really should have, shouldn't we? But
yeah.
We didn't.
And, Kylo's like, fine, I'm going to come down there and I'm going to kick his ass myself. And they go and have this great-looking lightsaber battle. But Kylo can't touch Luke at all. And when he finally does, we find out it's because Luke is a Force projection. Luke is really sitting on a rock on the Jedi planet, projecting himself over God knows how far over the galaxy to Salty Hoth for this epic moment that just leaves us with blue balls.
Basically.
And then he disappears. Like it goes to an outshot of the two suns setting, so it's like he's back on Tatooine. and he disappears and his clothes flutter in the wind. It's literally he forced too hard and it killed him. This is right up there with Padme dying because she just didn't want to live anymore.
What the fuck is this? The end of Dragon Ball GT? Like, motherfucker decides to absorb himself into the dragon? The hell?
No, man. I mean,
No, man.
No.
The dragon was an illusion, and Goku just said, "Fuck it, I'm going to send myself to the other dimension."
Basically, it's so weird. It's just like he's just he's exhausted, and he's not like he dies. It's not like his body literally just disappears into the Force, and you're like, what? That doesn't happen in Star Wars. Like.
Well,
what?
actually, here's the thing. A lot of people did compare it to Yoda's death. However, the problem with putting those two side by side is that Luke's probably only about, 60, 70 years old, whereas Yoda was in the 900s.
Yeah. Yoda was
I can understand
slipping into the Force.
Yeah, exactly. Yoda had 1 foot in the grave when he entered his early 500s. But, and that was just... But for Luke to just okay, I forced too hard and now I'm dead. Bye.
Later, bitches. Deal with your own problems.
Yeah, exactly. And again, I put this down to Rian Johnson and the way he handled this film as everything you know about Star Wars, everything you loved, every character that you still want to have around, I'm now killing off because I don't like it.
Yep. My world now, bitches.
Exactly.
Man, it is definitely a bad. I don't know. It feels lackluster. He'll be back as a Force Ghost next movie. God only knows.
I hope not. I swear to God that Mark Hamill's been saving those Joker paychecks and goes, you know what? I've got enough money. I can say no to this.
Yeah, but then they'll just CGI him. That's not going to stop him.
And then he launches an attack on Disney and they kill.
Yeah, this is pretty much gonna be like the Tupac hologram at fucking Coachella.
But anyway, so moving on from Luke and his weird death scene to Kylo Ren.
Yay.
Man, baby edgelord.
Do we really need to go any further than that?
Yeah, no.
in all honesty.
He's just it's like, oh man, moment of redemption, and then JK. But I mean, like, philosophically, you kind of have to think about it. And I do want to write something about this. Like, maybe, Kylo has the right idea, I think, that all these old things, the Sith, the Jedi, the old structures have to give way because they just don't work anymore. But
which is really funny because that's basically copying what Luke said too.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think it's very clear that the world order, the universe order, the galaxy order, the way it is, needs to end. But the problem is, Luke wants the Jedi to end and that to be it. Like, there's just no more Force users with lightsabers. It's just not how it's going to be. Kylo, Ben, or however you want to call him, still wants to have all the power. So I think, he has the right intent, but he doesn't know what the fuck to do. And it's just going to end up being exactly like the Sith Jedi thing all over again because he's so inflexible and just totally constipated emotionally and also probably physically. He just looks really sickly. Someone get this kid like a hot cup of soup and a sandwich.
Yeah, pretty much. But with Kylo, it's like I found that they sort of bounced him around too much.
Mm.
Like he started out being, the hemo man-child baby, and he basically wanting approval from Daddy Snoke.
Mm-hmm.
What is it with these main characters and fucking parent issues? I'm just starting to realize that now. And then there's the whole thing. And then there's the whole thing of like he's supposed to be. He's in Vader's shadow the entire time because Snoke always is like Vader was such a this, Vader was such a that.
Yeah.
That he finally gets sick of it. But then there's also, can Rey redeem him through the power of love? And then he's like, no, fuck you, I'm going Hulk Hogan. I'm going heel for fucking forever and a day. And
yeah,
I'm the First Order now, bitch.
And he wants her to join him. Like, I think they both want them to be on each other's sides. They just want it in a very particular way, and neither of them's gonna get what they want.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie to you, man. Ryan Johnson sounds like he has some mommy daddy issues of his own.
No, it's the whole franchise. The whole franchise has family
The whole
issues.
franchise.
I know, but
yeah.
at least with the older stuff, you can kind of like go along. Ha ha ha! That's cute. With this one, it's just like ha ha ha! The writer has problems.
Honestly, Anakin though goes evil basically. He's just like, the Force is awful, and I can't save my mom. I'm gonna go murder all these children like a bitch.
I mean, that's a deep-rooted psychological problem that he has to solve on his own, which he hasn't.
I know, but again, it's all about his mom and how he. And then
I wouldn't even call that. I wouldn't even call that an issue. More so, like, yo, bro, that's my mom's, bro. Like, you.
But you know what I mean? Though? Like,
yeah.
You don't lose your shit and murder a bunch of children because your mom died. Okay, that's not a healthy response. Not a healthy response. I don't care what you say.
And now that
it's not. You're right.
Look at it, like overall, out of all the characters, like we touched on it earlier. Yeah, Rey gets the most character development out of everybody. Everybody else gets screwed. But I think the only one that sort of escaped unscathed from all of this was Maz. But that's only because she had like a 5-second cameo.
Yeah.
Which is going to be turned into another movie.
Well, that would be fun. It looks way more interesting whatever this was. But
no shit.
All right. So kick it together. We know what Karl's review is. If you go to Outerhaven.net, I'll spoil the score if Karl lets me. May I?
Yeah, go for it.
It's 2.0 out of 5. That means it's a 40 out of 100, 4 out of 10. Rated this movie. Sara, if you were to use the Outerhaven's 5-star scale, where would you put this movie at?
Okay. I've actually wanted to talk about this because I feel like I've trashed this movie a lot. I would give it a 4. And here is why. And I know, given all the things that I've said, it doesn't seem to make sense, but here's the thing that I think this movie did better than any other Star Wars movie that I've seen. And that may be because of the context in which I've watched them. I think this movie genuinely made me feel the despair and the fear that shit was just not going to work out and that a bunch of people were going to die. I've never felt that in a Star Wars movie. I always knew who was going to die, what was going to happen. The first 3 movies that came out, episodes 4 through 6, they became tropes by the time I saw the prequels when I was a kid. And those follow the same sort of tropes because, George Lucas and his poetry metaphor. But this one was so intricate and so obscure with where it was going with what, that I genuinely, in the scenes, where they're getting attacked by the First Order, whether they're trying to make it to the planet or whether they're trying to escape the base once they get there, it made me feel this real sense of dread and anxiety. I just didn't know how it was going to work out. And that, to me, is something that a Star Wars movie hasn't been able to achieve yet, which gives it a lot of points in its favor. I think Rian Johnson didn't write a good Star Wars movie, but if this had been a different movie, I think it would have been better. And, for me, a lot of it comes down to the way the action shots are done, just the beauty of everything. Salty Hoth, we make fun of it because it basically is just Hoth but salty. But, that sort of the beautiful red smoke on the white salt is so gorgeous.
Oh, absolutely gorgeous.
Oh yeah, this movie's beautiful.
Visually, this movie was brilliant.
Yeah. This fight choreography is excellently done. All the cinematography, the music work is just excellent. The problem is Rian Johnson doesn't know how to write a Star Wars movie. But if he hadn't written a Star Wars movie, this would have been a good movie.
Man, this reminds me of a review of a video game Karl did at the beginning of the year.
But yeah, just to also reiterate, just some of my closing thoughts on the film. I agree a lot with what Sara says. Visually, musically, everything. This film is stunning. The problem for me was that there were so many plot holes, and basically this was what I have referred to as a scorched earth film, where they're basically trying to pull the reset button in the second movie of a three movie series. It doesn't work. That's why I have issues with it. Like Sara, I was old enough when the original 4, 5, and 6 came out, that they were already on VHS by the time I was old enough to start watching them. They were already tropes. Everybody knew the story.
Yeah.
But I can see what they were doing. This is the same dread and everything that you would have felt during Empire Strikes Back, during the original cinema run, where everything was hopeless, where, you know, they really have to struggle to get through. The only problem is where I watched an Empire Strikes Back for the first time, and I felt that dread, and I felt that, you know, what's going to happen from here before I popped in the VHS of Return of the Jedi. I wanted to see what happened. I was invested. I wanted to see it. I walked out of this going, I don't care about this series anymore. And I wasn't the only one. As soon as the credits started rolling for this, I heard so many people going, well, Star Wars is dead. My girlfriend turned around to me, and I hadn't said word one yet. She turned around and she looked at me and she said, well, I'm done with Star Wars.
Is she an overall Star Wars fan? That's the question.
She is a huge Star Wars fan. She's a huge sci-fi fan. She's a Doctor Who fan. She's a film fan in general. And for her to turn around and say that to me without me saying word one, that speaks volumes to me. It just shows that the writing here was just terrible. There were plot holes aplenty. We didn't even cover a tenth of the problems with this film. Like I said, if we did that, we would be here for 16 hours.
Yeah.
If you want a version of it, go and watch Angry Joe's top 10 reasons why I thought Star Wars sucked video on YouTube.
Yeah.
He pretty much hits a lot of the same points.
I will say though, and that's interesting because I remember you wrote about this in your review that your girlfriend, who's a big Star Wars person, didn't like it. It's interesting because my dad is also really big. And again, a big cinephile in general, and he was like, "This is the best Star Wars movie of them all."
Ooh.
I know.
Well, if anything, and I would have probably put this up in the beginning during an intro, it would have been that this was a very polarizing film.
Yeah.
Like we said, critics are loving it, fans are very divided.
It's true, and I think for me, and I think for him. And for a lot of people who like the movie, I think we're just excited to see, like, Luke's dead, Han's dead, Leia's dead, essentially, for all intents and purposes. I just want to see what's going to happen next, what's new.
But that's the thing. I think that's the issue that I see, is that, and I'm going to interpret this the best way I can. It's the people who are, like, super fans of it, like Karl, and they're, like, seeing this and not comparing it to the old stuff, but realizing that, the writing is kind of bad and it did no real justice to the old stuff. And real justice to the old stuff, in fact, made it look worse than it should have been made. And then there's also the other half that's like, oh my God, I'm looking forward to the shiny and new. And I'm the type of person that looks towards to the shiny and new all the time. At the same time, there has to be a balance where the old is made, the old is made to look just as good. It's kind of like a passing the torch moment. This could have been a passing the torch movie, and it feels, by both of your descriptions of it, it didn't do it that well.
It's lacking.
Like a lot of it comes down to character investment. I don't feel invested in Rey. I don't feel invested in Kylo Ren at all. Whereas going back to the original, it had a lot to do with the journey the character takes. I got invested in Luke. I got invested in Han. I got invested in Leia. I got invested in Vader. Whereas this, I can't feel that same investment, because all of a sudden, the writing itself is just so badly done. The character development, as we've stated so many times, is just so lacking for a lot of these people that I don't feel the investment that I should have. Again, I'll summarize it the same way as I did at the start of my review. When I walked into The Last Jedi, I was excited to see what was going to happen now that Luke Skywalker is back in the picture. I was expecting to see a good and interesting passing of the torch. I was stupid, I was excited, I was naive, I was a fool.
Oh, that's dark.
I wouldn't even call that dark. That's realistic, to be fair. Especially when you have these expectations and they're just literally fucking smashed like a bad pinata in front of your face.
Pretty much. That was my fancy way of saying, I went in with high expectations and they got absolutely crushed on the foot. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just left the theater with just this energy and this excitement and just feeling really empowered and positive about the franchise. In a way that The Force Awakens was a good movie, but, it felt like a quintessential Star Wars movie, and this didn't. And for a lot of different reasons, partially bad writing. Not that all the writing in Star Wars is that good. But, I don't know, there was something about just the action and the movement and this ramming forward into this ugly, hard future that just really connected with me.
And maybe it was not even a written thing. It was more of a visual thing as opposed to a written thing. So maybe it was just the way the movie was directed. And you can say that, is Rian Johnson a good director? Yes. Writer? Fuck no. Like, for this kind of movie? No. Yeah. Director? Absolutely. If you put him in the reins to direct this movie, he will make this shit look pretty. You know what I mean?
So more than pretty, it's epic.
Yeah. But the thing is, it looked pretty. It looked epic. It looked like a Star Wars film.
Yeah.
But just story-wise, it just didn't sort of live up to a second act of a three-part structure.
Right.
It felt like he was trying so hard to use half the film to say, okay, we're destroying what happened in part one. I'm resetting. This is the new start point. And that's how a lot of people have seen it as well. But
and that's what I'm trying.
Let's end this on a lighter note, and I've got the perfect way to end it.
Ooh.
This will be our final opinion of the evening. Porgs.
Oh.
What do we think about Porgs? Sarah, I'm going to let you go first.
Well, being a child, when the prequels came out, I was all up in that Jar Jar Binks game. I had a Jar Jar Binks figurine.
Wait, hold on. You like Jar Jar Binks? What the fuck is wrong with you?
Look. Oh.
There was a big marketing push, remember, back in the day for Jar Jar Binks.
I know.
How dare you? I was 9 or 8. I was very little. My dad actually.
That's right.
Speaking of super fans, my dad actually lied to my school, signed me out as going to a doctor's appointment, and instead took me to the theater to watch Star Wars together.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a pretty great moment.
I also remember I was in junior high school and shit, so yeah.
Yeah, but
I went and saw it after work.
Yeah, the Porgs I think are just innocuous. I'm just like, they're cute, and it's kind of funny that you see Chewie eating them.
No, he went to eat them the first time, and then you notice he never follows through, and they end up in the ship. So,
well, I mean, I assume the one that he roasted, he's gonna actually eat.
I don't know. He could have just thrown it away after that. They never made it clear it was what he did.
That's true. Well, but still, the fact that he killed and roasted it is probably just enough. Honestly, I think they're cute. I wouldn't mind getting a little toy one, but I don't think that they're the downfall of Star Wars, as some people are claiming them to be.
Oh, people are being fucking hyper dramatic.
Oh god, I don't think that they're like the downfall of Star Wars or anything. I do see them as for what they are. They are just a marketing tool. They're just something to make cute little plushies of for people to go squee and
basically
buy.
What BB-8 was.
Yeah, exactly.
Build a bear workshop. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that type of thing. At the end of the day, Porg's probably good with the right combinations of herbs and spices. But, you know, hey, look, if I was out there, man, you know what, and they were the only animal I could find, let's face it, because the only other animal we saw on that goddamn planet was the thing that made the blue milk. Finally, we got the explanation of the blue milk.
Yep. Now we know.
Now we know where it comes from. When your other option is the blue milk or the giant salmon-looking thing that Luke pulls out of the trenches,
I'm going with porgs.
I will take me some roast pork any day.
Yeah.
And look, you know what? That's fine. They're a marketing tool. They're something to push new toys out of. I don't see them as like the ending of like a big destruction of thing. I don't see them. There's even been a Darth Porg theory
Oh no.
floating around out there that they are like the embodiment of Sith somehow.
No, stop. No, that's it. Stop it.
I will buy the Jar Jar as a Sith Lord, but I will not buy the
fucking rabbit hole. Get out of the rabbit hole now, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karl and Sara, for joining us at the movies. This was a very enlightening thing. I am still aiming to see this movie despite, not being a total Star Wars fan. I do get my enjoyment with certain films, namely the original trilogy, and just pure curiosity out of this one. So I know for me, I'm going to watch it despite, me being a fan of good writing. That's just who I am.
Look, at the end of the day, I think Sarah and I will agree on this point. It is at least worth a one-time watch.
Oh, for
course,
sure.
yes.
It doesn't matter whether you're a casual fan, somebody who's just looking for something to watch on a Saturday night, or you're a hardcore Star Wars fan. Go and see it at least once. If you want to see it again, go for it. If you don't want to see it again and think it's the end of Star Wars for you, then so be it. You still have the old stuff to go and watch.
Indeed. And then also, that's always very good. Now, keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this is not the only television and film product that we will be giving out for the Outerhaven. Obviously, a certain analytical show will be making its comeback in Q2 of 2018. Sara, tell them about it.
Well, my little show called The Cine Analyst basically does character profiles of different genres. Last season was comic book heroes and villains, and we did it through a Freudian lens. The season to come, that's still a little bit of a secret as to what I'll be covering, but I'll be doing it through everyone's favorite groan-worthy, confusing guy, Lacan. So I will be back on April 6th with episodes, and hopefully you guys will listen in.
Also, keep in mind, we also have our television recaps that we do as well. Doctor Who Christmas special recap should be coming before the end of the year well.
Hopefully, it should be out by December 27th.
Right. Also, we're also still working out the plans of going back into American Horror Story and getting through all of those, but we're going to definitely, as well as Twin Peaks. We did promise those two.
Twin Peaks.
As well as the American Horror Story stuff, or at least set it in passing as an idea. But in addition, there will definitely be more television recaps with myself and Sara, and Karl and Sara, or a combination of, or hell, myself and Karl talking anime. Who knows?
It's all open.
It's all open. So, there's going to be a mix of that. Other podcasts on the Outerhaven include the Xbox Experience, which will be making its comeback in 2018. We're off for the holidays. As well as the Nintendo Entertainment Podcast you can catch every Thursday. Sony Centric will be back as soon as all of the little preparations are done to make Sony Centric better and great again. As well as the War on Infinite Panels A1 podcast with a recent podcast that popped up this past weekend, as well as all of the great content on the outerhaven.net. You can go catch that there. Make sure you catch all of our reviews, as well as our holiday gift guides that will be making its way to your eyes over the next few days. Anyways, any outside of Star Wars final thoughts, anything that you want to kind of talk about that you're thinking of doing? This floor is yours for the next 2 minutes.
Happy Life Day, y'all.
And may the Force be with you, always.
Alright, y'all. Stay ethnic, y'all. It's Clinton Navigator Bowman here. Karl, May Smart, and Sara Menendez. We out. Yo, get out my movie theater. Peace.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.